that gets to 1 minute, you should see the warning light trigger. And yeah, just like that. So that's how it works. Alright, welcome back to another video, everyone. Today I got a nice, interesting video for you guys. I realized in my previous videos that I mentioned that I got a warning light and I was going to install it. But ever since I sprung the leak on the gasket, that's been my main focus. And then if you saw at the end of the other video, I developed a new leak that I'm still trying to pinpoint the exact location. So I completely forgot about the warning light. Guys, quick tip. So hydraulic oil is not conductive. So luckily for me, I was able to wipe the receiver clean with some isopropyl alcohol. That's how you say it. Yeah, that one. And everything works fine. This warning light, I got it off. Yeah, let me guess. You got it off Amazon. Yep, that's right. It's pretty cheap, like $6, and it comes with a splitter too. That way you can use 2 lights. At the end, I'll put a bonus footage in there with how you can incorporate it in your excavator using a logical switch to make it like semi-smart. So let's get to work. Alright guys, so this is what the light looks like. Comes with a pretty decent cord. It's like 10 inches long, and that's the splitter. It has 2 screws on the back that you can install, but I'm not going to be punching any holes on my machine to fasten these screws to. So I ended up buying a set of magnets. I hear magnets interfere with electrical signals, so what I'm hoping is that the magnets don't disrupt the signal and it doesn't work correctly. So these are little magnets. Probably gonna attach it to the machine on this corner, on that back corner, and then I'm gonna hide the wire behind here and then run it under the plate to the receiver. So in order to get to the receiver and all the light board electronics on this machine, you gotta take out these 2 screws, this one and that one, and you need a 3mm hex head for that. So this is where I plan to run the wire through, but it can't fit, so I'll be taking these 2 screws out first and then feeding it through and then reattaching it. These screws are 2mm hex heads, so now that both screws are out, just take the magnetic cover off. It's pretty simple. Then, now that that's off, then you can just gently lift this out. So that's out, and you can see all the electronics. You have 2 other plates. You have a back plate back here that has electronics under it, and then you got this one as well. So pardon that napkin. So that's where I was trying to mark this thing out so I could pinpoint where the leak is coming from. I'll have to figure that out at a different time. But here are the electronics. As you can see, if you remember from my last video, oil got into the receiver as well. So I had to cut the insulating plastic and then tape it back on the bottom side. So my receiver is pretty full because I have the fan assigned to a channel in the receiver. Also, I have the smoking unit here, and then this is the sound system right here. So I'll show you guys in another video how to add the smoke oil. This is the pump for the smoke. But so since my receiver is full, I can't plug the warning light directly into the receiver. But luckily, I have a light control board right here. And if you can see, if I zoom in on it, it has a positive, a minus, and then a positive. So I'll be connecting into this top port and integrate it into the existing light system. So that's all you need to do. Pretty quick and simple. these light systems, it's not specific for this machine. So if you have any other, I know this build is the same as the Zoom Lion Z960G, I think is the number. That also has this light system too. So you can also add a warning light to that one. And if you don't have this, this is simple enough. You can just purchase it offline. And then this is what you connect directly to the receiver. And then that will give you all the functions of the light. This light has, I think, 5 or 6 modes. I forget the exact number. So the way these wires work is brown is ground or the negative wire, and then they put the live wire in the middle, and then the yellow is the signal wire. So that way you can't accidentally plug the live wire into the negative port because it's in the middle. So just remember that brown is the ground wire or the negative wire, red's the live, and then yellow is the signal wire. But you might ask, this has 3 wires. This one has 3 wires here, and there's only 2 pins available. So when you have the control board, you don't need the signal wire because the control board controls all of the different signals. So only thing you need is just the power to get to the light and the control board to take care of the rest. So I'll plug that in, get it covered up. There's not much to see aside from that. All right, so that's all plugged in. So the lights work, that's the first mode, and then it comes off. And there's like a dimmer mode. So it actually has 3 modes, so it's 1. And I have a magnet under it, so it doesn't seem like it's affecting, so I'm just gonna glue it down and straighten it up. But yeah, that's all there is to it. Alright guys, so now that we have the warning light installed, let's get into the fun part. I'll show you guys how to set up a logical switch, and that will control when the warning light turns on. A logical switch doesn't require any physical human input, so you can just set the parameters of what you want it to check for, and it'll check for those parameters. Once they're met, it'll activate the switch, and then that way it can basically monitor different functions. So I won't do a fancy one, I'll do something simple for demo purposes, but I'll show you guys, you know, just a simple way to make your warning light smart and not just for decoration. So let's get into it. So I know this video is mostly specific to the Frsky X14 controller, but if you guys have another controller that has logical switches, you can try this method out too. So you would go into the menu, go into logical switches. I have a bunch of them set up because I've been testing out a lot of stuff on my excavator. So right here we have, I call it WL for warning light, and the way that's set up is I have it set to be a sticky function and it's always on. And what this switch does is it gives you the ability to set it in the mixer. So for this demo purpose, I'll be using a timer, and that way the timer can trigger the switch when it gets to that value. It doesn't have to be a timer. It can be a different function. So I have it sticky right now, but it can be a timer generated and or like Excel or a different range. So if you have like a temperature sensor or a battery voltage sensor, you can set it, and if your values fall within that range, it'll activate. So that's basically what you can do with this logical switch. In the airline side of the hobby, they use these switches a lot for airspeed, GPS, and whatnot. So I'll show you guys how to do your excavator with this switch. So after you have it set, you go back up to your mixer right there, and then you you slide down the LED. So see, currently my LED is set to SE, and what I will do is I'll go to edit, and then instead of SE being the source, I'll switch it to logical switch, and then I will go down from the logical switch, I will go down to warning light, and then I'll set it there. So this logical switch that I showed you that's going to trigger the light for the warning light, it's activated like you saw from the timer. So that timer is controlled here in the timer mid. I just use that, and then in here I have it set to playtime, which is on the timer clock. Right now I have it set for 1 minute. So what I will do is I will activate the I'll get the timer started, and then when it gets to 1 minute, the warning light should trigger. I have my timer set to my pump, so whenever my hydraulic pump starts working, that's when the timer starts. So I'll hit start on
Engine
this,
on.
and then playtime is down here. So when that gets to 1 minute, you should see the warning light trigger. So I'll back up here, and you guys will see when the timer gets to 1 minute, the warning light's gonna trigger. And yeah, just like that. So that's how it works. So I hope you guys were able to see how to use a logical switch, and they're pretty handy. I just wanted to pique you guys' interest so that if you have an excavator, a bulldozer, a wheel loader, whatever equipment, could be a crawler, and you have a Frsky controller, you can mess around with it. I'd like to see in the comments what you guys come up with for your logical switches. Basically, just trying to make your thing a little bit smarter. One additional thing I wanted to show you guys was, in addition to logical switches, you have special functions. And special functions, they can do a lot of things. So currently, I'll show you, I have a bunch of special functions on here that plays like the audio back. And these audio playback are WAV wave files. You can load them onto the machine, but they have to be set for a specific length. And it can just play stuff back to you. Like it can tell me right now, when I start my pump mix control, it tells me engine on or engine off. So you guys can play around with that if you got this controller. Also, you can play your telemetry values if you have sensors. So my receiver is not wired for sensors, so I have to modify it a little bit in order to get the sensor values. But you know, with LiPo batteries, they can combust at any time. So having the sensor to tell you when it's getting hot, and you can combine it with a logical switch where if your temperature goes outside of a certain range, it can activate the fan, or it can play a value that it's getting hot. There's a lot that you can do. So I'll show you guys two special functions that I set up quickly for this demo purposes. In here I have two haptics to play back, and what these haptics reference back to is, I go to edit, they reference back to the small arm in the max position, and then it also represents the other one is basically a direct clone of it, which is the small arm in the minimum position. And what these do is they reference back to your mix control graphs up in the mixer. So if I go here in the small arm mixer, this is what those special functions represent. And these are useful, just for example, if you are trying to dig in really hard ground and then you hold the lever at the max, this one at max for too long, you know, it's putting pressure on the hydraulic system, and you probably will spring a leak. With the electronic ones, when you're trying to do something crazy, the gears would start to scream if you're pushing it to the limit. for the hydraulic system, you don't really get that exact feedback. So what this does is, let's say I am pulling back on the stick to move some dirt and I hold it for too long. You hear that? It starts to vibrate. You can set it out to 20 seconds. So if you're holding it back for too long, more than 20 seconds, it'll just give you a warning to say, hey buddy, release some pressure. So yeah, that's what it does. And then you go forward. If you're pushing, it can do that too. So those are just some ways to get feedback from your controller and your machine together and just make them work as one, you know, and give you an extra set of eyes per se on how the system's functioning. So I hope you guys were able to get something from this video. Try to come up with something else, but for right now I'll be focusing on fixing that leak on my hydraulic station, and then I'll focus on getting the sensors wired up to show you guys, you know, better logic switches. If there's something you guys come up with, leave it in the comment section, and if there's something you have to share, I'd love to see what you guys come up with on your machines. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in another one.